Stop hitting the block button for a second. We've been told that protecting your peace means cutting everyone off. But what if that's actually a trap? Psychology shows that isolation isn't the answer. It's about building a better fence, not a higher wall. Here is how to keep your sanity without losing your village. We've all been there. Laying in bed after a long day, staring at a notification on our phone and feeling that sudden, sharp tightening in our chest. Maybe it's a friend who always complains, a family member who knows exactly which buttons to push, or a colleague who doesn't understand the concept of after hours. In that moment of pure emotional exhaustion, a very specific phrase starts looping in our heads. I'm done. We see it all over social media. Bold text over aesthetic backgrounds telling us to protect our peace at any cost. The modern mantra has become, cut them off. It sounds empowering, doesn't it? There is a certain rush of adrenaline that comes with the idea of hitting the block button, deleting a contact, or simply vanishing from someone's life. It feels like a quick fix, a surgical removal of stress. We tell ourselves that if we just get rid of the noise, we'll finally find that quiet, serene version of ourselves we've been looking for. But here is the thing that psychology often warns us about, yet the TikTok captions usually leave out. There is a massive difference between pruning a garden and paving over the entire backyard. When we are stressed, overwhelmed, or just plain tired, our brains go into survival mode. In this state, everything feels like a threat. A simple misunderstanding feels like a betrayal. A minor disagreement feels like a toxic red flag. Because we are already running on empty, we don't have the fuel required to navigate the complexities of human interaction. So, we choose the path of least resistance, total isolation. The isolation trap is seductive because it disguises itself as self-care. It tells you that you're being strong by choosing yourself. But if we aren't careful, we start cutting people off, not because they are truly abusive or manipulative, but because we've lost the ability to manage the friction that comes with being human. We start equating peace with silence. If you remove every person who challenges you, every friend who accidentally says the wrong thing, and every family member who is a bit too much, you aren't actually building peace. You're building a cage. True peace isn't found in a vacuum. Psychology shows us that as humans, we are literally wired for connection. We need the mirrors that other people provide. When we fall into the trap of total isolation, we might stop the immediate stress, but we trade it for a long-term ache, loneliness. We become the kings and queens of an empty castle. The real challenge isn't figuring out how to be alone. It's figuring out how to stay connected without losing our minds. It's about realizing that protecting your peace doesn't have to be a weapon you use to sever ties. It can be a tool you use to refine them. Before we hit the delete button on a relationship, we have to ask ourselves, am I protecting my soul? Or am I just hiding from the work of being a friend? Because once you go down the rabbit hole of cutting everyone out, you might find that the peace you found is actually just a very quiet, very lonely echo chamber. Once we realize that total isolation is a bit of a dead end, we find ourselves standing in a messy, complicated middle ground. This is where most of us get stuck. We know we don't want to be lonely, but we also don't want to be a doormat. We've been told for years that if a relationship isn't perfect, it's toxic. But let's be real. If we used the toxic label for every person who ever annoyed us or let us down, we'd all be living on deserted islands. Welcome to the art of the middle ground. This is the space where we learn that a relationship can be imperfect and even difficult without being disposable. In our digital age, we've developed a habit of viewing people like apps on a home screen. If an app glitches or starts draining your battery, you long press and hit delete. It's efficient. But humans don't work that way. We are all walking bundles of trauma, bad days, and communication gaps. Psychology suggests that one of the greatest threats to our mental peace isn't actually difficult people. It's our own all or nothing thinking. We think it's either total intimacy or total estrangement. But what if there was a third option? What if, instead of cutting someone off because they said something that stung, you simply addressed it? Think about it. When a friend misses an important event or a family member makes a snide comment about your life choices, your brain flashes a warning sign. The protect your peace reflex screams at you to ghost them. But middle ground thinking asks a different question. Is this a pattern of abuse? Or is this just a person being a person? Occasional conflict is actually a sign of a healthy, functioning relationship. It sounds counterintuitive, right? But if you never have a disagreement, it usually means one person is hiding their true self to keep the other person happy. That's not peace. That's a hostage situation. The art of the middle ground is about developing the stomach for a little bit of tension. It's about having that awkward conversation where you say, "Hey, when you said that, it really bothered me," instead of just disappearing into the night. Sometimes the middle ground isn't even about a conversation. It's about adjusting your expectations. We often lose our peace because we are trying to get oranges from an apple tree. We expect a friend who has zero emotional intelligence to be our primary source of comfort during a crisis. And when they fail us, we want to cut them off. But what if you just realized, okay, this person is great for a laugh in a movie, but they aren't the person I call when I'm crying. By adjusting the role someone plays in your life, you protect your peace without losing the connection. You aren't settling for a bad friendship. You're being a smart curator of your social energy. You stop expecting people to be things they aren't capable of being. This isn't about being weak or letting people walk all over you. It's actually the ultimate power move. It shows that your peace is so sturdy that a single misunderstanding or a bad mood from someone else can't knock it over. You aren't reactive, you're responsive. You learn to navigate the gray areas of life, realizing that the most beautiful parts of human connection usually happen right there. In the messy, imperfect middle ground where we forgive, we adjust and we keep going. Finding that middle ground and adjusting your expectations is a huge first step. But let's be real. Realigning your entire mindset doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice to stop reacting and start responding. If you're ready to actually do the work, I've laid out a day-by-day roadmap in my ebook, 30 Days to a Better You. It's designed to help you rebuild that inner strength so you can handle the messy parts of life without losing your cool. Check the link in the description, and let's get back to how you can start building a better fence. So, if we aren't going to just delete people, and we're learning to navigate that messy middle ground, how do we actually stay safe in the process? This brings us to a concept that is often misunderstood and even more often misapplied: building a better fence. When we talk about protecting our peace, we usually default to building walls. Massive, stone, windowless walls. We think that the only way to be okay is to make sure nothing can get in. But walls are heavy. They require a huge amount of energy to maintain. And while they keep the bad out, they also block the light, the breeze, and the very people who actually make life worth living. Psychology offers us a much better alternative: the boundary. And if a wall is a fortress, a boundary is a fence with a very functional gate. A lot of people avoid setting boundaries because they think it's mean or they think it's a precursor to cutting someone off. But in reality, a boundary is actually an act of love. It's you telling someone, "I want you in my life, and this is the map of how to stay here without us both getting hurt." Think of it this way. Boundaries aren't meant to change the other person's behavior. They are meant to govern your response. You aren't telling your high-stress friend that they have to stop being stressed. You're telling them, and yourself, that you won't be answering the phone after 9 p.m. because you need that time to wind down. You aren't demanding that your boss stop sending emails on Saturday. You're simply deciding that you won't open the laptop until Monday morning. The beauty of a better fence is that it allows you to remain present. You can still be the friend who listens, the partner who cares, or the employee who delivers, but you are no longer a 24/7 convenience store for everyone else's needs. One of the biggest leaks in our emotional peace comes from availability fatigue. We live in a world where we are digitally accessible every second of the day. There's an unwritten rule that says if someone can reach you, you must respond. But your peace is not a public utility. You don't owe everyone an immediate piece of your mind or your time. Setting a boundary like, I'm focusing on some personal things right now. Can we chat on Tuesday? Isn't being cold. It's being sustainable. Building a better fence also means learning where your responsibility ends and someone else's begins. Many of us suffer from emotional DIY syndrome. We think it's our job to fix everyone's mood. If a friend is sad, we feel guilty for being happy. If a partner is angry, we scramble to soothe them. This is where the fence becomes vital. You can offer a hand over the fence without jumping into the mud with them. You can say, I'm so sorry you're going through that, without feeling like you have to carry the weight of their world on your shoulders. When you have a strong, clear fence, you stop feeling the urge to run away and isolate. You don't need to go into hiding because you know that your gate works. You know how to say no without explaining yourself into a corner. You know how to limit the topics you discuss with people who always turn conversations into battlegrounds. By focusing on boundaries rather than avoidance, you're actually doing something incredibly brave. You're staying in the arena. You're choosing to keep your heart open, but you're doing it with the wisdom of someone who knows that their energy is a finite, precious resource. You aren't shutting the world out. You're just making sure you have enough room left for yourself. Once you've built your fence and learned to manage your boundaries, you might still feel a lingering sense of exhaustion. You might wonder, if I'm setting boundaries, why do I still feel so drained after a simple coffee date? The answer usually lies in a fundamental misunderstanding of social geometry. We often treat our social lives like a flat, open field where everyone has the same right to walk right up to us. But in psychology, the most peaceful people are those who view their lives as a series of concentric circles. This is the inner circle audit. Imagine yourself standing at the center of a target. The circle closest to you, the bullseye, is your inner circle. This is the sacred space reserved for the people who have earned your absolute trust. These are the ones who celebrate your wins without a hint of jealousy and sit in the silence with you when your world is falling apart. They get the full access pass to your soul. But as you move outward, the circles get wider. You have your close friends, then your casual friends, then your acquaintances, and finally, the general public. The mistake that most of us make, and the reason we often feel the urge to cut everyone off, is that we treat everyone like they belong in that center circle. We give inner circle access to outer circle people. We share our deepest insecurities with a coworker we've only known for 3 months, and then we feel betrayed when they use it as office gossip. We give our full emotional attention to a friend who only calls us when they need a favor, and then we feel empty when they don't reciprocate. We feel like we have to be vulnerable, open, and available to everyone because we don't want to be fake. But there is a massive difference between being fake and being discerning. An inner circle audit isn't about being judgmental. It's about being an architect of your own energy. You don't have to delete someone from your life just because they aren't a safe person to share your secrets with. You just have to move them to a different circle. You move them from the heart-to-heart circle to the let's just talk about movies circle. You move them from the Saturday night dinner circle to the I'll see you at the gym circle. When you do this, something magical happens to your peace. The pressure disappears. You stop being disappointed by people because you've stopped asking them to give you something they don't possess. You realize that you can actually enjoy the company of a difficult relative if you stop expecting them to validate your life choices. You can enjoy a surface-level friendship with a fun neighbor if you stop expecting them to be your therapist. This audit is an ongoing process. Relationships are fluid. People move in and out of these circles as trust is built or broken. Sometimes, a person who was in your bullseye for 10 years starts showing signs that they can no longer hold that space safely. Instead of the drama of a friendship breakup and the trauma of total isolation, you can simply, quietly, move them one circle out. You give them less information. You give them less of your time. You still wish them well. You still answer the occasional text, but they no longer have the keys to your internal kingdom. By categorizing your connections, you protect yourself from emotional overload. You stop being a victim of other people's personalities and start becoming the curator of your own social environment. You learn that your peace isn't threatened by the existence of difficult people. It's only threatened when you give those people a front row seat to your life. The audit allows you to stay connected to the world while keeping your most precious energy reserved for the people and the version of yourself that truly deserve it. We've arrived at the final piece of the puzzle, and honestly, it's the most powerful one. We've learned why isolation is a trap, how to find the middle ground, how to build better fences, and how to audit our circles. But even with all those systems in place, life is still going to happen. People are still going to be rude in traffic. Your boss might still have an irrational outburst, and that one relative will still say that one thing that usually sends your blood pressure through the roof. This is where we master the final skill, the calm observer. In psychology, this is known as emotional detachment, but don't let the name fool you. It's not about becoming a cold, unfeeling robot. It's about creating a buffer zone between what happens to you and how you feel about it. Think of your mind like a vast, clear blue sky. Feelings, comments, and the moods of other people are like clouds. Some are white and fluffy, others are dark and stormy. The mistake we often make is that we try to grab the clouds. When someone is angry with us, we reach out, pull that dark storm cloud into our chest, and say, "This is mine now. I am angry too." When someone criticizes us, we swallow that cloud and let it rain on our self-esteem for a week. The calm observer does something different. They sit on the grass and just watch the clouds pass. They recognize that just because a storm is happening out there, it doesn't have to happen in here. This is the ultimate secret to protecting your peace. You stop absorbing what isn't yours. If a friend is in a terrible mood and being snappy, the old you would have gotten defensive, sparked an argument, and ruined your entire night. The observer you looks at them and thinks, "Wow, they are really having a hard time today. That must be exhausting for them." And then you go back to enjoying your coffee. You see their mood, you acknowledge it, but you don't wear it like a coat. This also applies to the habit of trying to control others. Much of our lack of peace comes from the secret hope that we can fix people or make them see our point of view. We think that if we just find the right words or the right argument, they will finally change. But psychology is very clear on this. You are the only person you have a remote control for. Protecting your peace means accepting the as-is version of people. It means realizing that if someone wants to misunderstand you, they will. If someone wants to be miserable, they will be. When you stop trying to manage their internal world, you suddenly have a massive amount of energy returned to you. You realize that you don't need them to change for you to be okay. Your peace is no longer a prisoner of their behavior. This level of detachment is a superpower. It allows you to stay in the room with someone difficult without losing yourself. It's the difference between being a sponge and being a mirror. A sponge soaks up everything around it, the dirt, the grime, the cold water. A mirror simply reflects what's in front of it and remains perfectly clear and untouched. So, as we wrap this up, remember that protecting your peace was never about hitting the delete button on the world. It was about changing your relationship with the noise. It's about knowing when to set a limit, when to walk away, but most importantly, when to just stay calm and let the world be exactly what it is while you remain exactly who you are. Healthy peace isn't found in isolation. It's found in the steady, quiet center of the storm. It's the ability to look at the chaos of human relationships and say, "I see you, but I'm staying right here." You don't have to run away to find yourself. You just have to stop letting everyone else decide how you feel. And that, more than any block button, is true freedom.